So that was all it's like.
Yeah.
And none of them were marked.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm happy with the reporting. I need to probably be aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
Reporting side.
Yeah, you do.
You gonna be on it, Judge?
You're Shannon.
You were right, Maureen. I'll make sure I don't.
Well.
No. Yes.
This is okay. Somebody with a tail.
Yeah, y'all want me to trip?
26th this month. Still in open. You know, pool's going down. Wow.
Yeah, well, I heard. I'd like to go. One shot.
No, it's whatever. That's what I said. I'd like to call this meeting of the Rusk County Commissioners Court to order. Today is April the 5th, 2021. It's 10 a.m. I'd like to ask Charles Helton to lead us in prayer. Please remain standing for the pledge.
Let us pray. Father God, we come to you, Lord, thank you for another day. We thank you for all the wonderful things that you've done, Lord, all the blessings that we know about, that don't know, Lord. We pray that everyone had a beautiful Easter. We thank you for this weather that you've given us, and we thank you for bringing us together, Lord, to do the county's business. We just ask that you just be with those who are here, and for those who had a desire to be here that couldn't make it. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
First item on the agenda is to discuss possibly approve budget amendments and our transfers. Not any.
Move to pass.
Motion from Mr. Whitworth, second from Mr. Gibson. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. Number 2 for the April 5th, 2021 Rusk County payroll.
Motion for approval.
Second.
Motion from Mr. Kirkendall, second from Mr. Goff. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Number 3, accept the disaster declaration for Rusk County, Texas, pursuant to Texas Government Code 418.108A. I think y'all are aware we have to, court has to pass on that or approve that within 7 days of it being first done in order to keep it in effect. I don't know that there's going to be any FEMA help anyway, is there, Patrick?
Sorry, FEMA. I don't think we're going to hit our threshold, but we're still trying. We're still gathering information. The IA website that people have been putting information in, stuff like that. So we might get there, we might not, but our threshold's fairly high.
What is that threshold?
307,000 and some change. I mean, it's 307,308 right now. Whatever that number.
Not a possibility we're gonna be able to tag on with Panola County is.
Possibly. When I was talking to James this weekend, they had talked about it, extending it out and the governor going ahead and set it up for a presidential declaration in there. So we might be able to jump in there as one whole event.
All right.
Motion for approval.
Second. Mr. Gibson, second for Mr. Whitworth. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Presentation by Keith Lloyd, but Tracy, you gonna do it?
We both are.
All right. With Conterra Networks,
Yes, sir. Okay.
floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Keith Lloyd. I'm with Conterra Networks. And I have some other folks with me as part of my team. I have Jeremy Cox, who's sales engineer, and Tracy Vincent is our salesperson to represent us here in Henderson.
That's Jeremy Cox.
Jeremy Cox, yes, sir, COX, Jeremy Cox. Tracy Vincent is what represents us here in Henderson as well as East Texas. We've been working diligently here in the Henderson area to improve our services and develop a network through partnerships that we've done with various enterprise customers here, Fairbanks, some others here locally that have helped us do that. One of the things that we wanted to visit with you guys about today is all the stuff that's coming down from the federal government and state government regarding expanding rural broadband. And kind of start a discussion today, educate as much as we can, helping y'all understand what's going on out there and what's going on within our world. Because y'all don't live in what we do every day with telecommunications and stuff like that. So we want to start the conversation today. We're not going to solve it today, but we want to start the conversation and kind of talk about what's going on out there with the markets that we deal with and the services that we deal with. As you can see today, I've given you a little copy of a PowerPoint presentation here. You have a copy I can look at. And bring it with me. And I've got this on a thumb drive as well, guys, if y'all want to take it and use some stuff with it as well. And what we wanted to talk about today was smart infrastructure and what it can do, supporting quality of life and economic development within Rusk County and all your citizens. Conterra supports infrastructure to support smart communities. We have a high capacity optical modem network, secured networks for anchor tenants. And let me kind of, I don't want to just jump right in here. Smart infrastructure means fiber. So a little bit of a, yeah, would you take that up for a second? We've got, this is fiber that we use that we put on the ground, put on the pole. Okay, that's a 48 strand fiber. And what this is about is connectivity, building a smart network that supports multiple services. Conterra does that. We're showing, we want to deliver a high availability network that supports not just the enterprise user, but also the residential users in the markets as well. We want to do that by building fiber and building high capacity fiber in the area served. If you look at the statistics here, 65% of the customer interactions with the government are done over digital or over the internet, accessing you guys, accessing your websites. So it's becoming more and more important to be able to do business, even at the governmental and residents as well, being able to access that too. We show there's $10.1 billion that are being for the rescue plan funding to support infrastructure like that, to support fiber, to support broadband to underserved markets. Okay, so increase the quality capacity broadband for all stakeholders, meaning not just the counties can benefit from this, but also the cities that you pass by. I want to think about Laneville for a minute here. I'm going to think about Tatum, other areas that are underserved today that don't have fiber to their homes or to their businesses there, to even to the government that supports them.
Overton, New London, that area, it's hurting pretty bad.
Yeah, so they're, we talked to, I've talked to the Overton EDC, Philip Cox over there, visited him a little bit. He's struggling over there to provide services system over there too. Fortunately, in the city of Henderson, you do have some choices and you do have some access. Some of that is through us with the fiber that we're building, and also with the Suddenlink and some of the frontiers here as well. So we're committed to delivering the fast and most efficient fiber technology. Fiber is the data means. Fiber is the network that supports all these different platforms. Conterra creates custom technology solutions. And we've done this over 22 states and for about 25 years. So we've been in this game quite a while doing various services for different customers. It's scalable. Fiber is. It's flexible. It allows you to do multiple things on the same platform. It's carrier class, meaning that we are a carrier's carrier. So if you think about Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, they're all carriers, and we provide the transport to connect all their towers so they can do business in the markets that are out here. We also provide services to other carriers. East Texas is a carrier. We provide services to them today to get to different destinations that they need to go to protect their network with ring topologies, things like that. So we're able.
We enable them to compete against us as well, because we're bringing everything to the community and trying to bring everything up to a new standard, and not to try to spend those dollars twice. Judge and I, we talked and everything. And the thing is that if every carrier comes in and builds their own deal, well, then pretty soon if you have 4 carriers, you spent that $4 4 times. So what we want to do is come in and fill in the gaps and utilize what's here, as well as building infrastructure that needs to be built as well.
Yeah, I know the PowerPoint's a little busy, has a lot of stuff on it. Now I can see what I'm talking about. Excuse me, guys. Girls. Good. So reliability is a part of this too. So as you think about a network, you think about it needs to be reliable. If the county goes down or the city goes down, they can't conduct business. They can't support disaster recovery, EMS. They can't do the things they need to do to support their citizens. So fiber is the most reliable source to do this with. Fiber gives you high availability. And that's what the idea is, to build a core network. Customization, so you can come in and customize it, build it the routes you want to go, different places that you need to get to, where your densities, who are the underserved in their areas. And I'm going to use the area between Kilgore and Henderson again as an example. If you look at from the edge of Kilgore to Henderson, from the county line all the way over to the Gregg County Airport, that little area right there toward Tatum, that whole area is an underserved market today. That people have struggles with getting high-speed internet just to get on the internet material, much less do anything else on the services that are needed. So the idea is to identify, design, and then implement projects.
You go into the business development areas, off business parks, those things that increase the tax value as well as give a higher quality service. Because everybody's business does a little bit different. The county does business a little bit different than the city. The city does a little bit different than everybody else. The banks. We had gone through an FCC audit completely and surpassed it beyond what we thought we would. And so we're doing a lot in the financial world as well as the brokerage side of the business. But the thing is that you have one delivery that can reach everything that people need in the marketplace. And if y'all have any questions going along, please stop us. Let's answer any questions you have, please.
Tell us again how you work with like East Texas Co-op. You say they would work off you. And I mean, they're already.
Currently, we integrate with them today.
Right.
Integrating meaning we share fiber with them, they share fiber with us. We run the Carrier Hotel in Longview. There's a Carrier Hotel where you have 30, 40 different carriers that are in little closets, and they all interconnect and connect to each other. Longview is a telecom hub and has been since the 50s. AT&T did that years ago, built that infrastructure, and drove everything that way. So if you think of the Adcock region, all roads go back to Longview to get out to the world. That's the way that works. So think about Nolan, Harrison, Smith, all those guys have honed back to Longview over the years to get back to high-speed internet, interconnections with other carriers. And East Tech is a part of that. East Tech Partners. We did a project with them, I'm going to say 7 years ago now, where we were building fiber out to the airport, and they were needing to get into Longview. So hey man, we're building this and I need to get to Henderson so I can ring my network up. Can we share some assets? I'll build this if you'll build this, and we'll interconnect and we can, send traffic over each other's network, help each other out. You're helping me out by ringing me up. I'm helping you out by getting you along. So you can get access to internet. Because we support them with their internet access to their internet. They have multiple drains. We're just a part of it. But that's the kind of interactions I'm talking about, being able to work with local people who are embedded here, local people who employ people here. East Texas has done a great job of what they do. But I don't do residential services today, okay? But I can support the infrastructure that will do residential services. If you don't have a fiber feed going through Laneville or Overton or New London or Price over there, you can't get access. You have no way to feed it back to the core, back to Longview to get to the internet. So your network, your fiber network is the most important part of this. It's the first step to me, okay, in doing this.
It's the international highway to the World Wide Web.
Right. So think about when electricity came. And I know some of us are old enough to remember that. I'm not. I know some of us are old enough to remember when water came and sewer came to your houses. Think about the impact that it had on your communities when you were doing water, clean water, and sewer has impacted the communities that you serve. This is a very similar process that we're going through with internet access and broadband. Today, if you don't have broadband access, you're not going to be able to see your doctor. You're not going to be able to access anything you need for the government unless you physically come down here. Think about people that are working remotely today. Students. The last year, the impact of the pandemic and stuff, how people were trying to work from home. Think about all the employees that couldn't do their job because they couldn't get access. And every county that we've talked to has been impacted in a similar way regarding being able to do that. So one of the things that we've been pushing for a long time is building the highway, building the transportation. So you think about Highway 42 and it runs from, Longview all the way down to Price down there, okay? And think about the fact that that highway pushes the cars north and south. Well, think about the internet in the same way. Think about being able to push that data north and south and using that route to get there. That's what this is about to me today.
And what's hurt a little bit of that is that a lot of things are coax from over the years, and coax can only do so much. But you're on your fiber optic networks and everything, you just have an unavailable supply. And working with the economic development companies in the Northeast Texas area, in Longview, like Gap and others, and Dollar General that's come to Gregg County. What they do, it used to be you come up and you find the best corner with the best traffic in the world, and that's what you want. Well, now when they come in, they say, okay, what's your infrastructure? What's your water? What is your broadband? Those are the things they're asking now first, because they supply on it, because we've gone to an e-commerce society, really. And so that's not going to do anything but just keep on growing. So that's really so important to have a good infrastructure in place.
So in our network solutions are fiber to your building. So like he's talking about, you have providers that will do copper into your building or coax into your building. Everything that we do is fiber into the building off of our own fiber network. All right. Same thing with East Tex. They do the same thing. They'll provide fiber into an end user. They'll actually build off their network to provide services to the residential user that they have to. Makes a difference. So the last mile, the coax can be a problem. Electricity, all the things that go with that, the problems that it creates. Also, it doesn't give the bandwidth. You can't get the higher bandwidth with it. So ours is 100% solutions. We do business with local school districts, Longview, Kilgore, Marshall, Tyler. Henderson's part of SuperNet. We don't necessarily do Henderson ISD today, but we're visiting with them about the same things we're visiting with y'all about. They need to participate in this process too. They need to understand how it can impact them too, how we connect the schools with this, passing right by them, the benefits of being able to do that.
So are you interested more in the businesses or the residentials or both?
No, sir, we're interested in providing all of it and being able to support all the other users that might need it, not just us. So I'm thinking about building the core network around Rusk County, that's been able to provide some of those services, but also East Tex, also AT&T Mobile, Verizon Mobile, T-Mobile, you know, the different providers that need to get access to those towers that they haven't been able to get fiber access with. 5G is a part of this too, being able to deploy a 5G service to places that can't get fiber. You can't afford to build fiber to everybody. There's a, you know, you take a, I'm going to use Overton again as an example. You go into Overton, you put up a vertical asset, a tower, and you can light up, you know, within 3 miles of Overton and support with a 5G network as well, not just fiber to the home. So a layered approach to me works, being able to service not just the people that you pass, but also the people that your 5G radios and 5G services can support too, which gives you a larger radius in order to reach more people within that area. Some of y'all in the room probably live in a rural area. You may live 1,000 feet off the road. You know, that's a difficult task to get internet access into there, to build fiber initial 1,000 feet. But if we had a 5G solution, you could get that without having to spend those dollars on fiber feet, 1,000 feet to reach your house. That's kind of where we're headed with it. We want to build the core network and support all the users, not just us. Okay. The idea here is to do it where you can have other people layer services on. Does that answer your question?
Judge, you got a question?
Are you talking about having to have a tower that's going to that'll cover 3 mile circle?
You can't. Well, sir, the end game is, yes, sir. The end game is to be able to build a canopy 5G to support the whole county. It's the end game. Okay. Now that's not going to happen right out of the gate. But if you don't build the fiber infrastructure to support that, you'll never be able to do it. Okay. So think of the fiber as the first layer, and then think about all the other services you can put on there, whether it's an enterprise customer, whether it's a residential customer that you actually build fiber into, or it's another layer of 5G that goes on top of it that you can do additional services there. You can reach out further with that.
A good advantage of that would be like a sheriff's department where they, you know, they're out there and they get to the edge. Well, by doing a 5G play, then all of a sudden they can go over into Gray County if they need to, because Gray County and Rusk County made it at Kilgore Junior College, for instance. Okay, so you're able to take those services over those boundaries, and that affects your EMS and your other departments as well, and city and county.
So to answer your question, Judge, the answer is yes. So we visited with Michael a little bit about some of the vertical assets that y'all had in place that you're using today to support your sheriff's department and your EMS, and talking about how we could build fiber to those towers to be able to enable them to do the different services that you need out there in the field. Now, it's going to take little steps. You can't do all of this at one time. To fund what you're talking about doing would be a pretty healthy project regarding dollars and cents. Okay. So, but it'll never start unless you build that fiber network to support it. So you know that, hey, I need to put in those 2 towers. I think you had one north and south, right? Remember that, Michael?
We're going somewhere between 5 and 7 right now, mostly north, mostly south. Yeah.
We identify those and we make sure that the fiber routes go by those so you can support them as you're doing this. Design is important with this. Density, so you got to pass by. Cities that you can pass by, towers, services like that. But it can't do it unless you have that fiber network to support.
What about the network that's already there though? I mean, I'm familiar with the fiber line that runs pretty much along 259. It's a co-op line, I believe.
Yes.
How do you work with that? And that's already, I mean, we're not starting at zero, I don't think.
The idea is to interact with East Tex and give them access so they can get back to what they need to get to. Also take some of these dollars so they can expand out.
We'll show you some maps that'll help with that a little bit here in a little bit. That'll kind of show you some of that.
The last thing that I want to do is I want to go and overbuild in East Texas. Okay, they've already got that network. How do we enhance them? How do we help them to get more broadband, higher bandwidth in those locations? Okay, they still need to come back to the world, still need to come back to Longview to get to the internet access or come back to their network there. So how do we take the infrastructure that's there existing and make it better? You know, more capacity, all the things that go with that. Does that make sense? So if you look at the slide that says Rusk County Smart Infrastructure provided by Conterra, this will kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about and the different services that you can layer on. So if you look to the left, you have a county network, you'll have a city network, maybe a school district, okay? And then you'll have a network distribution level, okay? So what we're talking about when we visited about distribution is what I'm talking about today. If the county goes out and takes East Texas and takes other entities like ourselves and lets them build out the network distribution, you can support all these other services that you're talking about. But without the network distribution and the fiber in the ground, you're just shooting yourself in the foot because you can't get back to the end, which is the internet. You can't get back, okay? And you can layer all these services on there. Think about access, carrier grade optical network, enable broadband and 5G deployments with high capacity access to underserved neighborhoods. So you go back again to Overton and Arp and New London and those areas right there that you could go in because of the density and do a 5G play that would spread it out and offer services to everybody, residential and enterprise customers. Think about all the distribution level there, network resiliency. You want to be a ring protected so it survives, stays up.
What's the cost of you say a tower, and that's within a 3-mile radius.
Well, sir, you can do 5G a lot of different ways. You can do 5Gs on top of light poles. Okay, and just put the radio there, and you can intertwine them together. You know, canopy them down the street and support all the users on that street. The vertical assets are more for 4G and 3G. A 5G is a little closer to the ground and can be accessed differently than a 4G can. Okay, so it's a different animal. It's the same end result, which is access to the internet, but it's a different way of doing so.
And it's a stronger bandwidth from a frequency as far as so it goes through the tree leaves and stuff like that, like we have in Northeast Texas.
And think about the services that you have out there. Think about a stoplight with a video camera on at an intersection. You could access that through your 5G. You can access it to 4G today if you want to. Okay. Think about a sheriff's department that's over in New London making a run through there, and he has an area that he can stop off in or a route that he can go down that he can access and do what he needs to do to access information, access send messages back and forth, alert EMS, all the different things that they do today that they can access easier by doing that. You're spending a cost today to support that, whether it be a hotspot, 4G, those guys in their cars, and you're spending money on dollars and data. Whereas if you take your dollars and spend them on a common network that you could share with residential, enterprise, as well as emergency services, it's a more efficient way to use your dollars. And of course,
another big growth market of that's going to be the telemed side. Being down in Austin the last couple of weeks, I mean, that's every other word. That's the jingle right now is the telemed and the broadband and the rural and things like that. This solution brings all that to the table. So if you have Dr. Knighton over in Overton and he do a telemed with something called the senior citizen can't get out because of a snowstorm or whatever, they have accessibility to medical services.
and of course, the backbone, like we're talking about, backbone being the smart network that goes back to long, the distribution part of it. That's the idea, is get you connected better, give you higher capacity. So, and internet exchange to me is if you think about the internet and you think about the way that it works, it's about the carrier. Your hotel in Long Beach has 42 different carriers in there. They all integrate. It's the same thing with the internet. The closer you are to what you're trying to get to, the Googles of the world, the Amazons of the world that host your services, it makes it faster to get there and faster to get back. And they're predicting in 2021 that 50% of all the applications that you run will be hosted in the cloud, meaning hosted over the internet. So you're building the internet closer to the edge is what I'm saying. You're trying to get it closer to Henderson, Texas. You're trying to get closer to Overton, to Langley, by pushing it out further, okay, and getting that peering out further. So instead of having to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you only go 2. Okay. So it makes it faster, more reliable.
Robert Nichols brings up a good point, our representative down out of Cherokee County, and that is that East Stickers, and probably in a very short period of time, this will become a utility, just like you have electric utility, water utility, and everything else. Because it's a demand, just like many years ago when everybody needed electricity, that's what created the rural electric companies, okay? So it's just another generation of utilities that's gonna be coming to us.
Well, and the electric co-ops need to be a part of this too, because they can help you get transport to different destinations through their network too. We're working with those guys as well, trying to figure out what they're, because they need this too, to connect all their substations and do all the stuff that they need to do too. But they don't do fiber, they do electricity. So they really don't want to get in the fiber business. So we're visiting with them about what their broadband initiatives are.
So Michael, look around Rusk County, how far down the road, how long do you think it's gonna take?
Well, sir, I don't have all the particulars on that. I have a map back here that we could look at and kind of discuss a little bit. We don't know exactly what routes to take yet. We know where we'd like to go and have an idea, but there's some design work and some other demographics and things like that that need to be explored to do that.
Greg, right now, we go all the way over to where almost Walmart is over off 79 now, and then we're downtown Henderson. We just lit that up here recently for me. And then going down 64, we're probably maybe 2 miles from the loop there. So we're getting there real fast. Okay, so now what we're talking about is, okay, how do you get from 64 over to 79? That's what so eventually we're getting there slowly but surely.
So yes, sir.
I'm talking about Mount Enterprise, Limeville, Garrison,
Yes,
all that.
well, East Tex has services there today. They're down there. They're down there. Okay, and they can provide services there. So yes, sir, they're already there. The idea is to enhance them, to help them to be able to do more broadband, to be able to extend out further on their network. That's the idea.
You're here to help East Texas.
Yeah, this is going to take everybody to do this. Okay, it's not just going to be us. It's not just going to be East Tex. It's going to be everybody. Okay, it's going to take. If you look at it from a county level, and if you look at it at a regional level, you're going to have your local providers integrate and go places that they go, because there's no sense in going and building it again, you know, and building over East Texas network. That would be crazy to me. Okay, the idea is to help them, enable them to do more. Help us fill in the gaps in places that they're not, because they're not in Overton, they're not in New London, they're not in Price, Texas, you know.
How does that work when you're like Overton, part of Overton's inside Smith County, and that's probably where, I don't know for sure, but if I was guessing, Overton's internet's not going through Longview. Is it going through Tyler?
Actually, it's CenturyLink that's the provider there today,
Right.
and they actually do come back on.
Doesn't it?
Yes,
Okay.
okay. So that's where you run into the situations where you have to think not just on the county level, you have to think on the regional level and your neighbors. So let's think about Kilgore's a similar situation too. Half of it's in Gray County, half of it's in Rusk County. So do you stop at the county line because the guy across the street lives in Longview, in Kilgore, or do you, or vice versa? No, you don't think about it that way. That's why we need to use EdCog and the regional presence that they have to help us integrate with those guys. Okay, so we're talking to the Gray County the same way that we're talking to you guys, visiting about this, talking about what this looks like. We're talking to Smith County, we're talking to Harrison County, and all these other entities like y'all saying, okay, guys, you can't stop this just because it goes a little bit out of your network. So let's think about Beckville too. Turn the page for me. Let's go a little further. Go over to the Network of the Future, Rusk County Smart Infrastructure Ring Network. Beckville's not in your county either, okay? But Beckville's an underserved market. So Panola needs to be aware of this too and try to work with them as well. It'd be the next Network of the Future, Rusk County Smart Infrastructure Ring. So the black line that you see there is actually, that you see down south going to Mount Enterprise and through Laneville, that's actually East Texas, is what that is, okay? And that's part of their network. I don't know where the rest of their network is, and I'm not gonna present their network to y'all because I may present it wrong. I'm talking to Philip Cox and those guys about trying to work together with them to find a way to use your dollars that you're getting to build a broadband network in an efficient way. The last thing that needs to be done is for you to build out the same routes that East Tex already has. What you need to do is we need to enhance them. We need to let them spider web out, have more capacity, and feed them back to Longview so they can get better access.
Example, like Gray County, they've got 23 locations. And I supply all those locations except for 3 of them, but I use East Tex on one, I use AT&T on one, I use another carrier on that. So what we do is we enable each other again. They're enabling us, we're enabling them, but everybody wins as far as the consumer.
So if you look at the red lines there, this is some routes that we just came up with. We're in Leverage Chapel today with our fiber, and we need to get to Overton, we need to get to New London, we need to get back down to Carlisle, down 42, back over here into the network further down south there around just the piece number 4. Okay. And that would be a fiber build that we would look at maybe to do. In doing so, you could even spider web off from there to go to other destinations within that area. Say New London, for instance. You could go through there, pick up the city. You could do some stuff with the water towers within the city, put the 5G access on your poles down there. You could do some other things associated with that regarding giving more access to people. Same thing on your east side over there with Tatum, coming from Tatum back through Beckville all the way back into there. We would actually want to build from Tatum all the way back into Longview to support the local Tatum Telecom there, the local telephone company there that's been trying to provide broadband in that market for years and has had struggles getting access outside of this market. These guys need to be a part of this. Okay, East Tex needs to be a part of this. Conterra needs to be a part of this. As you go over into Smith County, it's the same thing. Who is the local provider there? The CenturyLinks of the market and the Southern of the market are not making investments to support their communities like they used to. So we need to think outside the box. We need to have like East Tex, E-Tex is in here as well. You think about People's Telecom, all the different local carriers that can support this and work together to give the county what it needs to be able to maximize its dollars. Okay? So today, if I was looking at this and looking at it from your perspective, I would say, okay, today I connect all my locations, my precinct 1, my precinct 2, my precinct 4, my tax offices, they're all connected somehow today with internet access or a wide area network. So you take the services that you have there and you use them to help build out your network, to connect those dots, to do all this stuff, and use those dollars to have somebody do that. East Tex, myself, connecting all your locations together.
With that being said, we've got an excellent partner here in our community with East Tex. And Rusty back there, I would be interested in hearing a little bit from you as to what you guys' plans are and kind of get your input on some of this as well.
Yeah, I mean, we do having a partnership with them. It's a fiber swap partnership. We meet them in Kilgore, and then they take us into Longview, and then we meet them at the Gregg County Airport. That's multiple purposes. It's to connect to carriers as well as internet. We also have feeds from consolidated communications. So there is several fibers going through our network already that we take advantage of. The highway he's talking about, I really don't understand. We already have that. The only part of Rusk County we don't serve is the northwest quadrant, which is basically Highway 13 over to Kilgore to 259. Everywhere else, we probably have 3,000 or 4,000 miles of fiber in Rusk County. So I don't really know, but I mean, he's not talking about overbuilding me. He's talking about helping me if we have my understanding.
Yes.
The 5G, that's debatable with trees. I mean, a lot of people in our government don't realize we have pine trees. A lot of them.
100 feet tall, yeah.
And pine trees, nothing but a piece of oil in the air. So y'all experience that every day in y'all's precinct. You get a half a mile off of a major thoroughfare, you don't have service with cell phones. So 5G is not going to help that. 5G is measured more in feet than it is in miles. So, you pretty much have to have an antenna every 300 or 400 feet, whether that's just an antenna or tower, it's still got to be listed. So, you know, I'm interested, I still have yet to figure out what the motive is here or what they're asking, honestly. I know there's a lot of grant money they're talking about. We hear about it all the time. EdCog will be in here, pretty much giving the same spiel, I would imagine. Connected Nations is doing the same thing all over the state. But right now, nobody knows where that money is or how that money is going to be allocated. You know, the difficult thing for us as a co-op, we can't get that money unless we're using that money to serve non-co-op members. So it really don't do us no good within our exchange boundaries because we can't spend it in our exchange boundaries. So, but it does give someone else an opportunity to overbuild us. So it's kind of where we are with a cooperative. I mean, y'all are members. You two are, Mr. Galt. I'm not. You're in a part we don't serve. You know, how would you feel me not, you know, I mean, me spending millions of dollars to build the city of Overton fiber to the home, and I haven't gotten fiber to the home to you yet. I mean, it just don't seem, you know, right.
That's really several layers to it and technology.
Yeah, and so, I mean, last year alone, we spent $31 million in fiber to the home. Total company.
Done a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. And we're on goal to spend that much, if not a little more this year. So, you know, fiber to the home is all great and wonderful, and I wish I had it to everybody. But there's a reality factor, and it's called cost. And you can't plow fiber at $8 to $10 a foot to a customer that lives 3 miles out in the middle of nowhere, and he's the only person there to serve. I mean, you know, so you got to build where the congested areas are and build out from there. And it's just going to take a long time. But we have so much fiber scattered all across the county, it's not real. I mean, every one of our exchanges, we built fiber within our boundaries instead of outside of it. So, I mean, we do connect to them, but, you know, I mean, and we've had a good relationship with them, and I have no issues with them whatsoever. But I don't know right now how this is going to fit me, because I've already had the connection. So you know, it could help someone else, but you know, that's the major thing is our government doesn't realize, state and federal government doesn't realize that there are so many grant programs out there that we hear about. We haven't seen the money yet, but we hear about it
every day.
And they're going to give it to anybody that sounds good, I guess. And we have schools today, and I'm sure they serve a lot of them, that there's multiple providers that have already, our government money has already paid to plow, to paid me to put fiber to that school, paid them to put fiber to the school, paid it for another carrier to put fiber to the school. School just picks every year who they want to serve. It's kind of a waste of money. You know, why don't you help the company that's already there? So
That's exactly the way I feel about it as well.
And so, I mean, you know, there's none of us in this business that don't want fiber to the home. We want it to everybody. But the reason we're in the rural areas, no one wanted to be there before. And that's why the co-ops are there. The same with the rural electric co-op. That's why they're there. So no one else wanted to be there. So yeah, we have struggles. I mean, we have copper plant that we can't just abandon, and we can't replace with everybody with fiber. But you know, I mean, we're all here, and I'm sure we'll talk and visit from here this point on to find out how we can work this together. I have been contacted by Overton. I've been contacted by EdCog to serve Overton. I've been contacted a lot of people. So that's kind of a situation that puts me in is there's so many people wanting to serve them, and we're all trying to figure out how to do it together.
And that the idea today was to have the conversation. That's the whole idea behind this. Okay.
And if we ever knew where this grant money is, I mean, who knows? I mean, I visited with Senator Nichols last week, with pretty much every one of them last week. And SB 5 passed the House or passed the Senate, but it has no money allocated to it. So you're going to hear EdCog I talked to them Thursday and they were talking about, oh yeah, well, we're getting money. SB5 is giving us money. There is no money in SB5.
That means that happened until 2 weeks from today, from the federal side on that $100 billion that they're trying to.
Yeah, that's, but I'm talking about SB5 on the state side, and they're, as Senator Nichols and Trent Ashby in the House. But, there is no money in that deal. There's nothing in it, so just be careful. That's all I'd like to say, is just be careful. I mean, y'all know us, y'all know Katerra, you know, use your options and talk to everybody you can about it. Because there's a lot of knowledge about where all this money is. And if we could get it, we would to serve fiber to our customers. We can't get it.
Michael, you have a question?
Well, I was gonna speak to Rusty's point because I was a co-op member in 2013, and right about that time, they were just getting fiber to where I lived down on 79 South. And as of right this moment, before Katerra entered into Henderson, the East Texas Co-op had the best internet service in this county. And just last week, we signed a deal with the city. We're actually going to have fiber service for the first time in the city of Henderson in about 3 or 4 months. But that northwest quadrant of the county that you just mentioned, that's a very underserved market. You know, I get calls from friends that live out on County Road 481. They tried for years to get fiber service, but they fall in Frontier's telephone exchange. So the co-op's not able to help them, not without a significant investment on either the co-op or the customer. And that's how it is all the way to Overton, New London. And
That's why I got us, there was chapel.
So for the first time, the city and eventually the residents of the city and around it are going to have access to fiber optics. So that's just one thing that Katerra came here to try to do, is say we want to fill in the blanks and
Right.
support the co-op.
Right.
Because I hear about it from folks that are on the co-op fiber all the time. They have a better internet service than what I do. That's Henderson. And so I just think it's really important that we at least focused on that northwestern quadrant of the county that's underserved, and that those parts around Tatum that don't fall into co-op exchange. Because Frontier does not offer fiber without a significant customer investment. Suddenlink does not offer fiber to residences at all.
CenturyLink doesn't.
Nor does CenturyLink, not without jumping through a lot of hoops. So trying to take some of those limitations away, I think, is the end game here.
Exactly.
And, you know, supporting like the co-op that's been here for years and has put a huge investment into the rural areas. Because that's what people are doing. If they want to come here and they want to have good broadband, they might have a principal place of business in DFW or Houston, but they want the charm and they want the ability to live out here in the rural parts, but they still need that broadband work.
Yeah, they do. And the idea here, again, guys, is not coming here to remain the work and everything that someone else has already done. The idea is to enhance. The idea is to find the gaps. The idea is to see where we can fill in the gaps and help others get services. The last thing that we need to do as a county, and I don't live in this county, the last thing that you need to do as a county is go and have somebody come in from the outside world and overbuild this whole county in his backyard. Okay, that's the last thing that needs to be done here. But that's what the talk is out there in the world. Have been throwing big dollars around, saying, "Hey, I'm going to come and build out and spend $500 million in East Texas to build out my own network and overbuild wherever East Texas is or E-Tex is or Peoples or wherever else it might be." And the last thing that we want to have happen here is to lose that we've already got here. Okay. The idea again is to enhance it, to work together to get that done, just like we've done in the past. We don't want to come in here and take over that territory. We want to find out a way, how can we fill in the gaps and help them? They've already done the work here. They do a great job here. That's not the idea. And the idea today was to have the conversation, talk about it, bring it up, visit about it. Okay. Think about what's going on out there, how we can solve it. All right. We can't do it by ourselves.
and I'm all for progression, you know, and I definitely know there's a need there, and not to speak for the rest of the court, just myself. I know that East Tex, I just can't say enough, you know, we have kids that go to school off scholarships. We have
Yeah.
kids that
Oh, yeah.
participate at the local livestock show in the area, you know, and they're funding, you know, cheerleader programs and baseball programs. They're so intertwined in our community that I just want to make sure that we're not stepping into any of their bounds of what they're trying to do or from that standpoint.
Yeah, that is not the narrative I'm trying to say. If I am, I'm sending the wrong.
No, I'm not saying you were.
That is not, okay.
For clarification.
To me, the idea here is to take whatever money from the sky, as one judge told me, we get, to use it wisely, use it effectively, to be able to do what the end result needs to look like. And all that starts with the investment, like Rusty and them are making. They're making an investment in their network to go out and do that every day, support their customers. You know, unfortunately, you don't have that throughout the whole county like that, okay? And access will allow you to be able to do all these cool things, fiber, 5G. And I know 5G is not the cure-all, but it's a part of the process that we go. So, and I'm not here to, last thing I want to do, Rusty, is I just want to have, we just need to have conversations, okay? We need to educate here, help people understand what's going on out there. That's the idea. And I hope that that's what I've been trying to do here, okay? So if you look at the next slide there, gentlemen and ladies, this shows what the government, the green area there that you see overlaid on that network, shows the areas that they consider to be underserved, okay? So as you look down on this, these accomplishments here, you don't have that down south where East Texas. It's not down there. They're doing a great job of supporting their customers down there, doing what they need to do. To me, the little area that's underserved is like Michael was saying, the little northwest area up there that's underserved. You have a lot of people there that wish they had services they can't get them. So to me, how do we as a group fill in those gaps? How do we find the routes to take? How do we find the densities to do? How do we go in there and do all that and do it efficiently using the people that are already there if we can? If not, who can go in there and do it? So if you look at the little red route that we built and how it would go through and be able to enable some of those areas there, like we're talking about. And if you go to the east and see that back around there toward Beckville and those areas seem to be served pretty good. If you look at the information that we have, this is government stuff, okay? This is anybody who has less than 25 down and 3 meg up access is what this is based on, okay? And I know you've probably seen some of those. So the idea here is to take, how do we fill in the gaps? How do we use county services that are already going there to help fill in those gaps? Building fiber out to those locations, things like that that go in. Infrastructure is the most important part of this. And I think Rusty would agree with me on that. That's one of the reasons why we did what we did with you guys over the years, is because you needed the infrastructure and so did we. So to get there, access, okay? And I've got some little bullet points back there in the back, and some of these we've already talked about. So middle mile starts with high capacity fiber. Network design is an important part of this, like we're talking about today. Where do you go? Who do you touch? Provide alternatives other than just fiber to the home, to areas that you can't get fiber to, like Rusty was alluding to, somebody's way off the boundaries. Enables the county to support its citizens. Enables cities in underserved areas. EMS, economic development is part of this as well. Telemedicine, remote access for students and workers. County and regional scope. So if you look at the county, you look at the whole region. So the ADCOG region is, you were talking about, ADCOG is going to be coming in here talking to you guys. And they need to be in here talking to you about this. They're going to probably have a similar message that I have today. Conversation, what do we do? How do we talk about it? How do we solve it? You know, how do we work together to do that? And take all entities involved and sit down and figure it out. That's the idea. Use local established carriers who already serve these areas. That's an important part of this, okay? If you're going to go back and duplicate all this again, that's stupid. Why would you do this? That's not the way to do this, okay? Build a strategy. And if we have a strategy and you have a project that you can go out and do with your local providers and other entities involved, then you're way ahead of everybody else in doing this, okay? And build a broadband economy. He's done a great job in the markets that he serves doing that. We try to do the same thing in the markets that we serve, okay? And come away with some action items, some further questions, things that need to be talked about as part of this. This isn't going to be solved today, and I said that from the beginning. The idea is just to have the conversation and start understanding what the options are. And I'm here to help, okay? I'm here to be a resource to you guys, answer questions, talk about what this looks like. And they need, E-Tex needs to be a part of that process as well. They need to be at the table talking about this and how it can benefit not just the county, but other areas of the county that they may not be able to serve today. And if they can serve it, then how do we enable them to do it as well? You know, I mean, do we take and connect the dots in between the networks so you can do that? Because he's already doing it. Just all these different things you can discuss. But it all starts with the assets in the ground. If you don't have them, you can't do any of these cool things that we're talking about. And if you don't have the local people involved, then it's going to be much more difficult to do. And the last thing I want to have happen here is somebody from New York City coming in here and trying to tell us how to do this. Okay? I'll leave here too. Questions?
Yes, on your red line, it's right from south of Carlisle Price there, then the JP4. And it goes north. Back over there. But you're on that southern line, you begin there at the co-op's line. So you'll tie in, and that's expanding, that's not enhancing.
Correct.
Were they entitled to royalties when you tie into their line, or how does that work?
I don't have all the answers for that yet, sir. Okay, this is just a what if, okay? And that's the kind of stuff that needs to be discussed.
Yeah, that is, Mr. Goff, that is things that happens every day in our industry.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, if there was a possibility of something like that, that would be an agreement between us and them as to how we handle that. You know, say, some people lease dark fiber, some people do fiber swap.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
we've done. So.
Don't have all the particulars on, this is just a recommended route. This may not be the route that we end up using, it may be a different one, depending on densities and places that we can pass that give us better coverage, you know, those kind of things have to be looked at. But it can't be done without a partnership between all the people that are involved, okay?
So are y'all in a partnership with anybody? Or y'all just,
Oh, yes, sir, we partner with E-Tex today, they're one of our partners today.
I'm talking about on all this coming in and around in our counties now?
Today, we use our own fibers and our own assets to do that today. We also use other providers though for last mile. So I'm going to use the Veribank, we're doing a large project with Veribank to connect all their locations and do their services and stuff. And E-Tex is a part of that as well. Connecting the enterprises and they have. So what we do is we integrate with everybody, okay, at the Carrier Hotel there in Longview. So in doing so, we have partnerships that we do with Suddenlink, T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, all these different entities to do that. Is that what you're asking me, sir?
Well, I just didn't know if you were, so y'all will use your own assets to put fiber in the West Rusk, Dark, all through there?
Well, sir, not necessarily. We don't have to. We could use somebody else if there's somebody else there that could. The idea is identifying where it is and identifying who can help solve it. So I know that I could do that if I was asked to do it, okay? Rusty and his group could do it if he was asked to do it. There could be other entities involved as well, but in those markets right now, they are underserved. You have a Frontier, which is the ILEC, that has no fiber in the ground there. You have CenturyLink, which is the ILEC, that has very little and is not spending money in those markets to support it. Okay, Frontier's in bankruptcy as we speak, so they're not making an investment in that. It's a similar situation like you're talking about with the city of Henderson here. So you have a provider here, which is Frontier as well. They're the provider here as well, the ILEC, the incumbent, and then you have Suddenlink here as well, which is the cable company. And they're not making an investment in the city of Henderson to provide additional services to your citizens either. Fiber to the print, fiber to the home, all the things that go with that. nor is Frontier. So to us, we're trying to find opportunities to support the communities that we're in.
What's to say that you get this built, and someone wants to buy your company, you don't sell out to them, like an AT&T? What's the chances of that happening?
Man, I hope not, but I can't tell you that it would never happen, sir. I'd be lying to you if I did. Okay. And he's of the same opinion. He runs a business, and if somebody comes and makes him an offer, he can't take it. So I don't know. You know, so co-ops are run a little differently than we are regarding what they do and how they do it.
But is that one of your business's goals to do that, to get it built
Not
and sell out
mine,
there?
not mine, no, sir. So we're making, I mean, everybody's for sale. I mean, so I can't sit here and tell you that we would never be sold. I'd be lying to you if I told you. Okay.
We're from North Carolina all the way over to El Paso and other parts of the country as well. So we have an infrastructure there that we have.
I can tell you that we're a privately held company. Okay, I can tell you that we're making investments in the communities that we serve. We just spent similar dollars over in Tyler, and Smith County to enable Tyler and Smith County over there to do business and support enterprise customers. So I'd be lying to you if I told you that never happened. Okay, so. But
So are you here today to put in our minds of some of this money that we're receiving, putting it in y'all's hands to put service into that area?
Well, sir, the end result is to support the community, and if we can do it, that's great. If we can't, someone else can do it. The conversations need to be had. End of the day, I want to make a sale. I want to make a solution that works for you guys. That's the goal.
So,
Okay.
so with
Can't do it by myself.
and I don't understand how all this game works, but,
Okay.
but he just said that they spent $35 million last year.
Yes, sir.
So how is our $2 million that we allow y'all gonna help us?
Well, first off, it would help by building a core network through those markets so you can actually get service to them. If you're looking at, I'm using the Leverage Chapel back down to Price as an example. Today, they're underserved. They don't have access. Okay. So if you're wanting to enable those communities to get access to the internet, the first step is to build a core network so they can. Okay. Next step would be providing services to them off that core network. Okay. End of the day, we want to make a solution that works for you guys, whether it's us, whether it's somebody else involved in the community that services you. The goal today was to have the conversation. Okay. The goal today was to talk about what your options are.
You got a question?
Actually, Judge, real quick. If I could have got East Texas Telephone to the sheriff's ago, I would have had fiber years ago. With the current carrier right now, we pay for 500 megabytes up, 50 megabytes down is on our plan. Right now, we don't get that. Saying all that, we use obviously a lot of stuff in the sheriff's office that have to upload stuff. I'm gonna take, for instance, our watch guard system, which is our camera system, that is a web-based system now. Sometimes we can get the cases uploaded and the DAs can pull them, sometimes they can't. And then we have to wait. We have to wait till down in the evenings when everybody's gone home, when a lot of people at night aren't doing anything. Nobody has actually pushed out anything to us in the city or for the sheriff's office asking, hey, what can we do to make your internet service better? I've talked to Sunlink in the past. It was going to be an ungodly amount just to get us a fiber backbone to the sheriff's office. I said, yeah, that's not going to happen. Just as he said, Frontier is not in the process of pushing out. I heard back when we were Verizon, oh yeah, we're going to build out DSL. We've got all the equipment sitting in the CO and it's going to build out. And that was 15 years ago and still have nothing. We have no options really in the city until Conterra came in. And actually, Cersei didn't even bring that up to me. It was Justin Pirtle with Velvet Oil actually came to me and said, hey, I'm going to talk to Jeff here about this. And the stuff that he sent me, where we've got a guaranteed 50 up or 500 up, 50 down, Pricing's a little bit more expensive, but for what we're paying, we're not even getting that right now. Overall, with everything that the sheriff has planned out for us and what we're already doing with our computers in the cars, and the backbone that we're needing for it, Sunlink is very, very, very slim on being able to push that for us. So I can't speak for a whole lot in the county other than the fact of, yes, it'd be nice to have more towers out there and everything for 5G for our cradle points in the vehicles. But just as our hub, being the sheriff's office, being the hub of everything, being able to push everything out, would make a very, very big difference, especially with the crime and stuff that we have going on. Some of these files that we send up to the DA's office are 50 plus gigs. So a lot of times you try to put it on a drive to upload it to the web, it's going to take a minute if it actually gets up there and it doesn't fail out. Otherwise, they have to put them on thumb drives, and we go through thumb drives like discs used to be back in the day. Everybody used to have a CD for everything. Now we have to use thumb drives. So sheriff's office wise here in the city is a big push for me to try to get some kind of fiber in there to help support us.
So you're not on it, too?
No, we are still straight copper here.
My last question.
The deal we signed with Conterra, y'all should be live for the city in
About 90 days.
about 90 days.
Yeah.
Probably end of July, probably 1st of August, we'll be live. It won't take very much longer for the sheriff's office to hop on behind it. And I know Chief Taylor's here. We're gonna look at switching our record software in our police department probably at the beginning of the new budget year. And one of the deals we can do with that software system, we can help, if Sheriff Valdez chooses, we can help him with this system by getting him on it at a way lower price point than if he switched outright. But to have that done, he would need this system. He would need this broadband up and operational.
Built it to the
Built
sheriff's building. Yeah.
built to the sheriff's building, and then we can come back in and tie it in a full thing.
Yeah.
Because the city's gonna host the system at the PD. So if the sheriff thinks that we can tie him in, he can have full speed access.
And that makes it easier for us as law enforcement agencies to talk back and forth, other than having to pick up a phone and call, say, hey, do you have this information? Or hang on, do you have this information? We can just jump on there automatically and start looking back and forth and sending it out to the guys in the field as well. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
So as you look at this, guys, again, here's the conversation. Okay, talk about it, figure out what's best, who can provide the best options, how efficiently you can do this, whether it's me or someone like East Tex or another provider that you choose. Okay, end of the day, fiber solves some of the problems you have with broadband, as you can see within the city. Doing the same thing with them. So when you look at a larger picture, the core asset is fiber. End of the day, that's what you want to put in the ground. Once you do that, you'll be able to do all kinds of things. And we just want to fill in the gaps. We want to have the conversations. We want to look at the whole picture with you guys. We're not just looking at this with Rusk County. We're looking at it as a region. We have assets and fiber assets within the region that offset others, just like we're talking about with Rusty and them at East Tex. And how do we do that efficiently for the other counties as well? Because if we do this right, you're going to build a network that will last another 20 years and be able to do all kinds of neat things to enable economic and stuff like that. That's the end of it, is to better serve the communities that we live in. And we want to be a part of it.
And if you can bring business to the table, they'll help pay for a lot of this along the way.
Yeah.
Business they need an enterprise type service, not a residential type service. So in that situation, you can help the business environment grow.
So I know it's a lot to take in. I know you guys are not technology people. But we're here to help and answer questions and be a resource is what we want to do. And again, if we bring all parties to the that we can't solve, we just got to sit down and look at it, see what the best options are, and see how it impacts each other is the idea. So, okay, I hope I've answered some questions today. Hope I've created a few more. That was the idea. Okay, any other questions from y'all today? Good, okay, thanks, y'all.
Appreciate you coming.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Keith.
All righty. Five, discuss possible garbage for thinning trees at the airport.
It's been some time since that timber has been trimmed, and I think it would be a benefit to us for the growth of that timber as we continue forward. So I'll make the motion that we go out for bids for thinning trees at the airport.
We're also talking about doing those across the road too. So does that need to be in the motion too, there, Rebecca?
The discussion that we had was there's some difficulties we ran into with those as far as being on several different landowners' property. And so we're going to try and work with whoever gets the bid to assist us with removing those trees as well. But there will be some that we'll probably have to pay to have taken down that are near homes and that type of thing.
Okay. All right. So you've made that motion.
We have not voted.
Oh, no, I'm saying, were you making a motion to do both? Or just, based on wondering what should we put in the advertisement,
The advertisement will be
Just
to
for
do
thinning,
a
or-
thinning,
just for the money?
and then we will try and work with whoever gets that bid to help us with that.
Are we paying for the services, or are they,
No.
they're gonna be from the individuals, landowners?
Well, it wouldn't, this isn't something that we're gonna pay for, it's something we're gonna get paid for.
No,
So
I understand. I didn't know if you want to mention both in the advertisement. Or
Mr. Hable, is it Hable? And he said that he recommended we just do the thinning as the advertisement, and then see once whoever gets that bid, if they would be willing to help us with the removal of those other trees.
All right. Got a motion from Mr. Whitworth, a second from Mr. Gibson. Is that correct?
May.
May.
That's the earliest.
May the 5th. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Number 6, discuss possible approve to go out for bids for hog pens for the Rusk County Youth Expo Center.
Many of y'all know our facility is really nice out there, and we've been limited on space for our show hogs. I know that the Rusk County project show that less $5 per entry. We tried to reinvest that back in the facilities. So some of that money could be utilized for that, but this is going to be a pretty costly deal. But we were looking at trying to do about 100 pens to replace the existing ones. The ones that are out there now, and they have to be bolted together, and it's pretty time consuming to put those together. I know Jennifer and Brad, they really try and schedule that stuff where they'll be used for multiple shows and not have to put them up and take them down because of the time. And then we also had some issues this year with some of the bigs being able to take and push those pins and tear them apart, and causing some issues there. So my motion will be that we go out for bids for 100 hog pens for the Rusk County Youth Expo Center.
My second.
Second from Mr. Gallop. Any other discussion?
Is that the same day, May 5th or 10th?
May the 5th. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Number 7, discuss possibly approve proclaiming the month of April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. We got something to read on that? You like to read it, Sheriff? Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month calls attention to the fact that the sexual violence is widespread and impacts women, men, and children of all racial, cultural, and economic backgrounds in our community. And whereas rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment impact our community, as shown by statistics indicating that 1 in 5 women and 1 in 67 men will be sexually assaulted at some point in their lives. And whereas child sexual abuse prevention must be a priority to confront the reality that 1 in 6 boys and girls and 1 in 4 girls will experience a sexual assault before the age of 18. And whereas we must work together to educate our community about sexual violence prevention and holding perpetrators to commit acts of violence responsible for their actions. And whereas the Women's Center of East Texas will join other victim service providers, criminal and juvenile justice agencies, health providers, and allied professionals in supporting survivors, speaking out against harmful attitudes and actions, and generating greater public awareness of the issues surrounding sexual assault. And whereas Rusk County strongly supports the efforts of the national, state, and local partners and of every citizen to actively engage in public and private efforts, including conversations about what sexual assault is, sexual violence is, how to prevent it, how to help survivors connect with services, and how every segment of our society can work together to better address sexual violence. Now, therefore, joining with anti-sexual violence advocates and support services in our state and across the nation in the belief that all community members must be part of the solution to end sexual violence. Rusk County does hereby proclaim the month of April 2021 be observed for Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Rusk County.
I move we approve the proclamation.
Motion from Mr. Kirkendall, second from Mr. Gibson. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Number 8, discuss possibly approve the contract for professional services agreement with Rusk County and Stokes and Associates for work in accordance with the Transportation Infrastructure Fund Grant. Mr. Neil Holland.
Mr. Judge, thank you. Commissioners, my name is Neil Holland with Stokes and Associates Engineering. We've been asked to put together a work of your county transportation infrastructure fund project with the Texas Department of Transportation. A section of this work that is ear tagged for County Road 2107 in Tatum has been identified to require engineering services for this part of the work. The county has asked us to look at preparing documents to seal coat County Road 2107. And so that's what this work order is about today. Be happy to answer any questions if you have. I would like to add that you did go out for seal coat services earlier in the year. We met with a grant consultant about this, but the grant consultant said that that would not be applicable on this project because there are conditions with this money. And so it would not fall under that guideline to be able to use that contractor. That contractor will be able to bid on this work, but we just can't go ahead and take that contractors at the unit price that they bid to you earlier in the year.
But
Well, we would need to film them in the next agenda to be able to go out.
we go out for bid, so that'll be Monday.
Mr. Howell,
Yes,
that is on your services for that, is it per item or
That's
for
Fixed
example,
fee.
that road, I don't know how long that road is, if it's 4 miles long versus if you were doing 20 miles, it's or does it change?
No, it's based off of the scope of work that we're doing. And so we patterned this work order specifically for that work that's applicable to 2107.
What it is, Benny, it's in court, it's asphalt road, starting to fail. And it's one of those things, if I don't do something, it's gonna take a lot more work than what it is right now. And, like I say, with the, with the state and all that we've been getting our money from, it is required. That's the only way that we can go about it, doing it. Catch that? Yeah, no, I don't know if you caught that.
Commissioner Kirkendall and I talked a little bit, there are certain spots on that roadway that are in much more need of repair than others. We may need to go and selectively cut out those areas and do what is called a full depth asphalt patch to provide structural support of the roadway. The seal coat surface itself is not a structural element. It's basically, it goes in there and will seal off the emulsions of the oils, will seal off the existing cracks in the roadway to prevent further damage. But if there's already a subgrade problem, we need to address those separately. He and I talked about going out and selectively looking at that work.
And also in saying that, this was when we turned all our roads in, we had X amount to spend. And at the time, we weren't aware that we would need engineering done on the roads. So what it'll be is it won't be costing us any more money. What it'll cost me is having to shave off some work maybe that I was planning on doing on another road. But it's at the end of the day, it's all still the same thing.
Yeah. Put it on the agenda for 12th, is that correct? All right.
Any other questions?
Well, we need to approve this contract.
Yeah. I'll say if y'all don't have any more questions, I'm move that we approve the contract with Stokes and Associates.
Second, Mr. Goff. You gonna prepare the bid package?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We'll prepare all that. There'll be wage decisions that go along with that.
All right.
Will have to be in that advertisement. And we'll get that to the-
Thank you, Neil.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Discuss, number 9, discuss possibly approve we voted on that, I guess, didn't we? All those in favor? Aye. Number 9, discuss possibly approve a contract for professional services between Rusk County, Texas, and Allison and Bass and McGee LLP for assistance with issues regarding the road use agreement.
On that, the current agreement that we're using, found some things in it that aren't in the best interest of the county. I think maybe another precinct or two has also had some problems with it. Just a couple of emails back and forth with Allison, Bass, and McGee. They can prepare us another agreement. It was quoted that it was going to be about $1,000, but it wasn't in the email.
All right.
I don't know if there's any discussion about it.
The only discussion I'd have is that maybe we could get together and put in what we would like to see,
Right.
implemented into that, and then let them put it in there from a legal standpoint.
I agree. I mean, I think we need to, excuse me. I think we need to have our input, but my idea on it was get a draft from them and see if we want to change anything on that draft or add to it.
It does need to be revamped.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract professional services between House and Bass.
Second.
I got a motion from Mr. Gall, a second from Mr. Whitworth. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Number 10, discuss and possibly approve to accept a grant from Dickey Foundation for a ballistic vest. Not for a ballistic vest, but for a ballistic vest for the sheriff's office. Sheriff?
We went out after we did all of our initial inventories at the sheriff's office. And we came to realize that there were several deputies that had no vest at all. And almost half were expired or close to being expired. Reached out and started looking at some grant funding opportunities, and the Dickey Foundation, which they own all the Dickey barbecues, Maureen Dickey. I made a couple emails toward her. She came back to us and actually came in person, and we gave her the tour of the sheriff's office and basically showed her where our deficiencies were with regard to bulletproof vests. And we ended up reaching an agreement that she would actually purchase all of them, not just, I was hoping for 8 or maybe 10. And she is going to purchase 32 ballistic vests for all of us, from even our deputy jailers all the way up. And we will purchase half, she will purchase half, or the foundation will purchase half. And if approved, we will get that going, and the turnaround time is going to be about 30 days. So we will have everyone at the sheriff's office that carries a gun in updated ballistic protection.
It's great. It's great. I think what does the vest cost?
I wasn't allowed to know that because their abilities to purchase is much better than ours would be as a county, as an entity. That are normally, depending on what you get along with it, how many covers, how many plates you're going to put front or back. It can be as low as $600. It can be as much as $850. The only thing I'm going to know is what our final dollar amount is for our half. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be somewhere between 12,000 and 14,000 range. But again, this is for all of us. Every single one of us will have a brand new vest.
Make a motion for approval.
Motion for Mr. Whitworth, second from Mr. Gibson. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Thank you all very much.
Thank you,
If want to
Sheriff.
don't have it all.
Number 11, discuss and approve following utility pipeline reports. A is Southern Utilities Company proposes to place a 3/4 by 5/8 water meter under across the right of way of County Road 133 in Precinct 1.
On that, I've had problems out of this company as far as doing road bores along and inside our easement without notifying us and doing the proper procedure. This is one of them that's actually already done, but we caught them in the accident. I don't think it'll happen again. I think they'll come through court as we've asked them to. I'd like to make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Second from Mr. Kirkendall. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? B, East Texas Telephone Co-op proposes to place fiber cable under across or along within the way, County Road 3227 in Precinct 3. And East Texas Telephone proposes to place fiber cable under, across, or along within the right of way, County Road 3230 in Precinct 3.
Motion for approval for B and C. Second.
Motion from Mr. Gibson, second from Mr. Whitworth. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. D, East Texas Telephone Co-op proposes to place fiber optic cable along within the right of way of County Road 4256 in precinct 4.
Motion for approval.
Second. Motion from Mr. Whitworth, second from Mr. Gibson. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Number 12, public comment, no action be taken. Anybody?
Chief, I got Ben. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong guy.
Anybody got any public comment? All right. Approved payment of bills.
We're back on that index. Page 4. Just out of curiosity, why are the 3 different?
So there's different areas, so we got utilities for the state and library, and you got, looks like, there's for the airport. So it's probably, yeah, airport is 2 months worth.
Okay, so those are different, okay. Okay, it just said Tatum Library, so I didn't know.
The other two is for, airport. It's LEO, like make sure that you split between airport and expo there, or if it's for 2 months. Make sure we're not okay.
move we pay the bills.
Second.
Motion to pay the bills from Mr. Kirkendall, second by Mr. Galt. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. I forgot to mention, the public comment opened their fire station this past Saturday. They've got a nice facility to get you in down that way. It's just on the other side of Carlisle on Highway 13. Stop in and see it. I mean, we adjourn.
Second.
Second, Mr. Whitworth. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Have a great